should you get a trust? And I know a lot of people, they are wondering this. You go online, you go on social media, and everybody's like, you got to get a trust. You got to get a trust. Everybody needs a trust. We all need a trust. And really, a lot of people don't even know what trusts are. And I'm not saying that the people who are on social media saying you should get a trust don't know what trusts are, because they probably do. They probably know something about it. But I do want to make sure that everybody knows that trusts are not a one size fits all type thing. First of all, if y'all go on there and they say you need to get a trust because it helps you to avoid estate taxes and it helps you to avoid income taxes and it prevents you from having to pay taxes to anybody, that's something that you might want to use your side eye to. I'm not saying that it's not true. I don't know anything about those trusts, and I'm not saying that they don't exist and that they don't do what people say that they're supposed to do. But what I am saying is, I want you to be a little bit wary about those when you hear it, because one thing to think about, some people say that these types of trusts that people are advertising will help you to avoid estate taxes. But one thing I want all of y'all to know is that most Americans will not have to pay an estate tax anyway, and that's because the estate tax threshold is pretty high right now. Now that may change sometime in the next few years, even the next few years, I'll say that might change. That number might get lower. So there might be some people who have to be concerned about the estate tax. But currently, if you are concerned about the federal estate tax, or the death tax, or the inheritance tax, for the most part, the average American is not going to have to worry about that anytime soon. And if you are concerned, if you live in a state, some states do have lower levels of estate tax liability. So there are some states where even if your estate is worth $1 million at the time of your death, your estate might be liable for an estate tax. But this is something that the average person is not going to be concerned with. And so I want to make sure that you all first know that. Like, when you hear people talking about trusts and how they can avoid certain taxes, the first thing is, would I even be liable for that particular tax in the first place? So that's something that I want y'all to really think about. And the way that you know is particularly to talk to a tax person, a certified public accountant, a CPA, or an accountant who understands the tax laws. That'll be your first place to go to. You might also consider an attorney, because a lot of us do learn some basic things about taxes, because in estate planning, a lot of times we are creating documents that are designed to help people to have tax planning. There's a difference between not paying any taxes at all and reducing your tax liability because of how you structure your assets. Perhaps there might be some trust involved in that. But if you are going that route, you want to make sure that, first of all, that the thing that they're saying you're avoiding was actually in the path in the first place. Because we don't want you paying a lot of money, doing a lot of things that are with all these weird, complex strategies, if it's not even something that you need to do. So that's the first thing. Make sure that you're careful and mindful about what people are promising, and is the promise even worthwhile? Is it worth the investment for you? So I'm not saying that I don't believe that trusts are good, because I use trust every day. I may not have mentioned to y'all, but I am an estate planning attorney. So a large part of what I do and my firm does is help people to create trust. So yes, we do create trust and we do encourage them. The question is, what do we promise our trust can do? That's one of the things. Another thing that I want you to think about is, what type of trust are we talking about? A lot of people don't know that there are a ton of different types of trusts. The two main categories are irrevocable and revocable. And those terms, they describe what they do. One of them can be changed, can be modified, can be completely revoked and terminated. The other cannot be. The other has an irrevocable trust is not revocable. And so under most circumstances, you cannot terminate that trust or modify it if you are the person who initiated the creation of that trust. And so, just to put that a different way, if I am a person who has asked someone to create a trust for me, or I have created a trust for me, and I have put my assets into the trust, if it is an irrevocable trust, under most circumstances, I would not be able to change that trust or terminate that trust. There are some things that we put in there as attorneys these days to provide some ways out if it's needed. But for the most part, a trust that's irrevocable is designed to be unchangeable, non cancelable, if that's a word, by the person who created it. So that's something, excuse me, y'all, itchy nose. That's something that we all should be mindful of, that sometimes people are not sure what type of trust they should get, and they're just like, I need a trust. And so I always ask when people come to me and say, I would like to get a trust, I say, okay, I'm glad to know that. But we're not going to focus on getting you a trust for the next few minutes. What we're going to focus on is, what are your goals? What are you wanting to accomplish? And once I have a clear understanding of what you're wanting to accomplish, that will help me to determine if we need a trust in the first place, and then what type of trust would be beneficial for you. I wanted to highlight a couple of them today because I had a really good conversation with someone today, and we we were talking about their estate planning, and I asked them if they had any people in their life who were minors or had disabilities that they would like to leave something to in their estate plan. And they told me that they had some people that they would like to leave something to, but they didn't know how to do it because they don't want to give this person property or money that they are not in a position to handle properly. Perhaps they are underage, or they have a mental or physical disability and they are not able to handle the property that they leave to them. And so I told them that you could create a trust for those individuals, and you can do a testamentary trust or a living trust. A testamentary trust is a trust that you create through you put it in your estate planning documents, whether it be a will or another type of trust. You would put a provision in there that says, upon my death, for all intents and purposes, it says, upon my death, I want a trust to be created for this individual who may still be a minor when I pass away, or may not be a minor when I pass away. I'm not sure. So I want this trust created for them so that if they are still underage, after I pass away, it would go to them in a trust. You also could say, I want to create a trust for this person because they are disabled. And it could be someone that you don't anticipate is going to not ever be disabled. You think that they're going to probably be disabled for the rest of their life. You might leave things to them in a testamentary trust. And what that means is, as long as you are living, that trust does not exist. But after you die, then a trust is going to be created to hold property that you left to this person who is disabled or this person who is underage. And there might be other reasons why you might create a testamentary trust as well. You might have a family member who is not as great with their money. You still love them. You want to give them stuff, but you know that if you gave them $100,000 or $5,000 or $2, it's going to be gone the next day, regardless of what it is and what the circumstances are. So in those cases, you can also create trust for those loved ones. They are called spendthrift trusts. And what those do is put someone else over the money or the assets that you leave to this loved one. It also helps protect their assets that you leave to them in a trust. It protects it from creditors. So if they owe anybody money, there's going to be there's limitations on those creditors' ability to access the money in the trust. Or the assets in a trust. And so in that case, someone might be interested in creating a testamentary spendthrift trust for a loved one who might need a little bit more protection around something that is left to them. So I wanted to cover those types of trusts, testamentary versus living trusts. I wanted to talk about planning for minors and people with disabilities. I also wanted to talk about the fact that trusts are not just for rich people. And it's not, and I kind of already told y'all that. I kind of should have said this earlier, but then I got kind of excited about the other stuff. So the main thing that I'm trying to say is that there are different reasons for trust, and it depends on what your goals are, whether or not you should consider trust in the first place, and then what type of trust you should consider. Now, there are trusts that the very wealthy use, and it's not, I want to make clear that those trusts are not necessarily designed to create wealth or to help them to become wealthy, but those trusts are designed to protect their wealth, transfer it to the next generation, and a lot of times to avoid tax liabilities. And I'm not saying that they're avoiding all tax liabilities, but there might be some planning strategies to help reduce that liability because of the way that the assets were left. And so some people who are of high net worth will incorporate some of these other trust structures to help to preserve and transfer their wealth. But that doesn't mean that trusts are just for wealthy people. More and more people who would consider themselves average income, middle income, more and more people that fall in those categories are considering trusts. And the reason why is because one reason why is because after the person dies, their assets can transfer to the people that they want to receive it without them having to go through probate court. And so it allows there to be a seamless transfer of assets. A lot of times assets can be transferred more quickly than they would if probate were required. If a person has a will, or if they die without a will or a trust, then probate court is going to be where the family has to go to get the legal authority to transfer their property to the people who are next in line. That can take anywhere, here in Georgia, it would take anywhere from 4 to 6 months at the minimum for that process to complete. And it could even take years depending on what's going on in that family or different circumstances. And so a lot of times that's too much time. For example, if someone needs to be buried or funeral expenses need to be paid, you don't have 6 to 9 months to get that done. You need a more seamless transfer of assets. Or it could be that a parent left their children property in a trust, money in a trust, because the children were too old to receive it. I mean, too young to receive it directly. And so a trust was put in place for them. And the person who's taking care of them needs the money now. They don't have time to wait until probate is complete before they get money to pay for these children's expenses. And so in that case, having a trust allows things to happen more quickly. You don't have to go through probate court in order to get things done. Another good thing about trust is that it allows a little bit more privacy. You don't always want everybody in your business, and I understand that. And so in those kind of situations, a trust can allow you to allow your family to, or your loved ones, or whoever you put in charge, it can allow them to transfer the assets to the next people in line without the whole world knowing about it. Because when it's a will, all of your instructions and distributions are laid out on that piece of paper. And that piece of paper is taken to probate court and then becomes a public record that pretty much anybody can access. And in that case, people are going to be all up in your business. And of course, I know you're going to be gone. You probably won't care as much because you won't be here, but your family might. Your niece that you left $10,000 to may not want everybody to know she got $10,000. And so if she has a will, if you have a will, that's going to be public record. But if you have a trust, that's just between the trustee and the beneficiaries, unless the superior court gets involved because someone wants to, has a concern about the trust. But that's a whole nother story. Doesn't happen nearly as much. But if it's a will, it's automatically going to be public record because you have to take that will through probate court. And so everybody's going to know that you left your niece $10,000 and they're going to be coming at her door knocking and saying, well, you know that money that you owed me from 5 years ago, I would like to have you to pay me back since now I know you got $10,000. Or it could even be the niece that you didn't give $10,000 to and says, well, why did Auntie so-and-so give so-and-so $10,000? I thought she loves me too. You may not want everybody to know that. You may not want them to know. You got your reasons. You know that so-and-so, your niece over here, she needed $10,000 so that she can pay for college, even though they'll probably pay for like a half a semester in a lot of schools. But That's neither here nor there. Law school debt, we just think about those things. But it could buy some groceries, at least for a little bit. Anyhow, I'm just saying for privacy purposes, you might want to have a trust for that purpose. So I think I'm done for now, but I am so excited for the opportunity to answer any questions y'all may have. Put in the comments or the chat below anything that you have, any questions, anything I could talk more about. Just let me know. I like talking about things that other people find interesting or helpful. Of course, I can always come up with ideas, and I think y'all would like them, but I would know y'all would like them if you actually asked me to tell me what you would like. So please share in the comments, share in the chat, whatever we call it here on YouTube, and let me know what other topics you would like for me to discuss, because I can talk about trust, different types of trust. I can talk about wills. I can talk about planning for long-term care expenses. We can talk about heirs property. I know y'all like to talk about heirs property. There's all kinds of things that we can talk about on this channel. So just let me know in the comments what you would like to discuss, what questions you have, what I can provide more clarity on, and I'll be back on pretty soon to talk to you about those things. But y'all take care, and I hope that everyone has a wonderful day.